how to start building your six-figure business in the next 30 days. And we do this exclusively for military veterans, active duty and prior service, okay? And the point of it is all three of us are veterans. We'll go through our stories very quickly a little bit later on. But the point of this is to help you do the same thing that kind of we've done in a bunch of different areas. John with podcasting, Antonio with men's fashion, men's style, and me with publishing. So we have a diverse range of skill sets here, and that's why we are together helping you guys do the same thing. So today we're going to focus on the 5 tools that you need to actually get started. So let's get to it. And again, feel free, guys, to ask questions as we go, and we'll get right to them, okay? So in today's chat, we're going to cover a few things. We're going to cover the massive opportunity for veterans in the business world right now. And we're going to cover 5 tools that you can leverage as a veteran to start and grow a 6-figure business. And we're going to give you a sneak peek inside High Speed Elite, which is our exclusive veteran-led business mastermind, MBA-level business course. It's a website and platform development platform, so we'll actually help you build your online businesses. 24/7 live form, and much more. So really, it's everything you need to get started. And so if you stick around, there's a special bonus at the end too. And this is exclusive for only the people who are on the webinar right now. We'll be offering a one-on-one lightning strategy session call with you guys, one-on-one. So if you want that, stick around to the end, and we'll give you the details on how to get that. And there's no strings attached to that. It's just purely to help you start the right way, okay? So are you guys ready to get started? Yeah. Type yes in the questions box. I think it's called the questions box in GoToWebinar, correct? Chat box. Yeah.
Whatever.
We'll go with it. Whatever it is. I want to hear from you guys. This is not a rhetorical question.
Yeah, and
so are they coming in?
And we can see everybody. So Shannon, Mike, Maxwell, Kyle, Casey, Joshua, Jennifer, Jason, David, Bob, Arturo, Anthony, Alan, and Adam. You know, not just to single you out, but feel free to ask questions. We are here, so we're real people.
Totally. And also 2 things I want from you guys. Let us know where you're calling in from and what branch of service you served in or are currently serving in. That's always kind of fun. I like it when the Army wins.
What? Go,
so does Antonio.
Yeah.
The only thing the Army wins is quantity.
Hey, I'll take it. Winning's winning. So here's the deal, guys. You're in the right place if you want to make money doing work that matters. You're in the right place if you're looking for a step-by-step path to your own 6-figure business. We've been there, done that. I just hit 6 figures this year, first time for me, so it's a big win. I'm very excited to see that. You know, John and Antonio have been doing this for a minute, and John, I think your last month was like 500,000 this last month or something like that.
Wow.
So anyway, the point is, it's pretty cool to hit 6 figures. It may be even cooler to hit 6 figures in a month, and then, and anyway, you got to start somewhere. So the point is, today we're going to talk about how to get started to get to that first 6 figures. You're in the right place if you want a better job and a better life for you and your family. And you're in the right place if you want to join a small army or Marine Corps or Air Force of like-minded veterans ready to hold you accountable and help you succeed. So do me a favor, guys. Imagine for a second, and you can close your eyes if you want, but I need you to imagine the day that you make your first $10,000 paycheck. And this is an old slide. Obviously, I have not updated this. Sorry, John. I like to keep things a little bit more realistic, but imagine your first $269,971 paycheck. That was back in January, I think, at the start of this year, John? Or was that last year?
I think it was January 2015.
Yep. So, and then obviously hitting 500,000 in this past month. So imagine that for a second. How would that make you feel? And actually write in. This is not rhetorical. I want to actually know how you guys feel about this. You can open your eyes to type in that response. So now I need you guys to imagine waking up excited and energized every day doing work that you love at your dream job as your own boss. Okay? Because that's what we do on a daily basis. I think each of us, John, Antonio, myself, have built businesses that we are legitimately passionate about, that we enjoy, that we love to wake up to, and we're excited. I get excited for Mondays. I mean, I don't even really consider, I don't really have weekends right now, but I don't want them because I'm constantly working on the stuff that I enjoy. But the point is, I don't dread Mondays like I felt like I used to. And there's so many people in the world who do dread the start of a new week. But with us, we don't have to. We get to do what we love. And here's just a snapshot of some of the things that the people we've gotten to connect with. Me with Seth Godin. John has done numerous, and so has Antonio, done numerous speaking engagements and gotten to connect with some of the biggest players in the game. It's incredible, and obviously has also fought sharks. It's a metaphor. That actually happened.
True story.
So how does that make you feel, that idea of waking up excited, of getting to connect with people like that? And again, let us know. So now imagine surrounding yourself with like-minded people who want you to succeed, who will support your ideas, dreams, and vision, who will actively help you set life-changing goals and hold you accountable to achieving them. Imagine living the life you've always wanted to live with the time to spend with family, friends, and the people you admire. So here's an example, some snapshots. That's John Dumas and a guy named Gary. I've heard of him. Tell us a little bit about that, John.
Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, and then so why'd you get to hang out with him? And who is that? Who else are pictured here? You got Lewis Howes and a few other people.
Yeah, so I was actually just honored to be asked to keynote at a great conference in Las Vegas called Thrive, Make Money Matter. And was able to share the stage with Gary Vaynerchuk, with Lewis Howes, with Robert Herjavec of Shark Tank. Keith Ferrazzi was an amazing person I got to hang out with as well. And just some incredible people over that weekend. And it all started from a podcast.
And Antonio, you just said, it sounds like, tell us a little bit about some of the people you hang out with, not necessarily hang out with on a daily basis, but the people you interact with, whether at conferences or through your email list, or what you're building.
Well, the picture there is I'm with Tom Julian, and it took him about 2 decades to build himself up in the style world. And I was, through video and creating content online, able to do in 2 years what took him 20 years to do. And I'm taller than him too. No, I'm just joking, but yeah, I actually am. But the other picture there, I'm really proud of. I have 4 kids. And I am proud. I mean, I have set up my business so I can live in a small town, great quality of life. I can make over $100,000 a month, and I live pretty much like a king in small town Wisconsin. And I love what I do. I'm just, for me, anyone that is military understands this. When you got to get to place, just talking to a buddy of mine. He's getting deployed in January for another half year. He's in the Navy. He's going off on the Carl Vinson aircraft carrier. I mean, it's cool. He's one of the top 6 guys. He's a commander and stuff. But still, he's away from his family for 6 months. And I didn't want that. I wanted a business that worked around my schedule and paid me very well. And I've been able to build that.
That's awesome. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about here today, guys. And that's a quick snapshot of me in the corner for basically the last 2 years after I got out of the Army. So I'm the most recent prior service veteran of the group. I got out 2 years ago, basically, in 2013, and have been traveling the world ever since. I finally settled down just outside of Aspen, Colorado. But I did all this stuff while I was traveling, which isn't to say you need to do that, but it is a possibility with the type of stuff that we're going to teach you today. So how does that make you feel? And again, be honest. I want to hear some answers in here. So maybe, do you want to read any of these off, Antonio? I know.
I'm seeing Arturo's talking about that in 2006 he had a great year, but he lost it doing bad investments, but he's excited to get back into it. Bob Lane is saying, money can definitely help. And, money, we know it's not, life is the most important thing. But money sure helps, to fix a lot of problems out there. Maxwell's saying that it's awesome. It wouldn't feel, Jennifer says, she would love to be able to doing something where she doesn't feel she needs to take a vacation from. And Jennifer, I look forward to Mondays. I'm actually chomping at the bit sometimes. It's bad. I love spending time with my kids, but sometimes on Sundays I'm like, man, I can't wait to go to bed so I can get up early and go to work.
I'm not even kidding.
Let me kind of speak to that real quick, specifically to Arturo, is like the dude lost $300K to investments. Like for most people that would crush you. You would be like whimpering up in a ball and like you would never recover. But this is the reality for you, Arturo, and I know this is true for you. For me, I'm going to be making over $4 million this year. And I swear to God, on January 1st, if I woke up and you said, John, all your money's gone, you have $0 in the bank account, I'd be like, you know what? That sucks, but not worried about it because I know how to make money. I know how to be an entrepreneur. I have the tools, the skills to get out there and generate revenue at the snap of my fingers. And that's exactly what we do here, guys, in High Speed Elite. We give you those tools. So no matter what happens when the dollar crashes through the bottom and we're all on Bitcoin, no matter what happens in this world, when we're all going to visit Antonio because he has the compound and he has the shotguns and he has the underground food, no matter what happens, we are survivors, and we are going to use the tools that we're giving you within High Speed Elite to generate revenue, to build a real business, most importantly, to have the skills that you need to do these things. I just did a webinar this morning that both Antonio and Tom talked about. They asked how it went. It went flipping phenomenal. You know, we had over 250 people live on the chat. There's another 150 people that couldn't get into the chat because the chat was full. You know, we did over 50 sales of a $1,000 product. Like, I had a $25,000 morning before I even ate lunch today, guys. Like, that's the business that I built. So I don't care if I lose all my money tomorrow, and neither should you, because you're going to have the tools that you need to do this right.
Man, I love that. That's so powerful. And anytime we can reference, you know, Bitcoin and zombie apocalypse in the same sentence, I'm happy. This is good stuff.
Yeah, baby.
That's awesome. And $25,000 mornings. That's pretty nice. So imagine that for a second.
I had not had breakfast yet. I had not had breakfast yet.
Pre-breakfast.
Pre-breakfast.
Good way to start the day. So now imagine never going it alone ever again. Imagine being loved and respected and admired for the work you do. Imagine living a life that makes you feel happy, confident, and secure. Does this excite you? If yes, say yes. And if no, you can say no. Probably the wrong spot for you to be in. But if that excites you, if the idea of that excites you, then let us know. I'm seeing some yeses coming in here. Yes from Bob, from Alan. Yes, of course, from Adam. That's true. Yes, duh, from Maxwell. Good. So we got a lot of yeses coming in here. Again, guys, I appreciate you guys being here. So now my next question to you is, so what's holding you back? Is it skills? Because veterans have some of the most sought-after skills in the marketplace. High performance under high stress. The ability to manage small and large teams and projects. And leadership. The number one skill, literally, every employer looks for. So even if you're not going to start your own business, if you want to just get up a job, you know, a job that you enjoy doing, you still have the skill set to do that. But if you want to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, well, guess what? You have the fundamentals of what it takes, because what is entrepreneurship? It is uncertainty, okay? You don't know what's going to happen day to day. But if you can draw your own map and you can figure things out on the go and you can essentially adapt, improvise, and overcome, then you have the ability to do what John was talking about, have a $25,000 pre-breakfast morning, okay? It's not fantasy here. This is what happens on a daily basis. It's insane. It takes a lot of work to get there. We're not talking magic tricks here, but it's possible. And you guys have the skill set to do it. So what's holding you back? Is it funding? Veterans have access to some of the best business loan programs available to anyone. Just one example, and there are many others. The Veteran Entrepreneur Portal will help connect you with resources and financing for your business. This is a terrible URL, but we'll send this out also via email if you guys don't want. But if you can write it down now, write it down now. Go to va.gov/OSDBU/entrepreneur, or just search Veteran Entrepreneur Portal, and it should come up. And this is for veterans. And what you can do is you can secure loans at lower interest rates than the rest of the civilian population, which seems very unfair, and it is, and you should take advantage of it, okay? So those are just some examples, and there's dozens of tools and resources like that you can dig into that the government provides you. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We can get into more later on if you guys want. So what's holding you back? Is it connections? Because veterans are a part of an incredible tribe. Our network is unlike any other in the world, okay? Your job as a veteran is to find, connect, and lean into this tribe. So what do I mean by tribe or network? Well, it's everybody that's on this call with us today. there's what, I don't know, 20, 30 people on this call. There's John, Antonio, and myself, and what we do at High Speed Elite and High Speed Low Drag, and all the veterans that you see on Veterans Day kind of, saying, people are posting images. I just saw Antonio in his active duty military gear, looking very, very young and fit.
Hey, I'm still young and fit. But, hey, really quick, we're getting some good questions. John, you want to? I always see this one pop up. Funding. People are saying what's holding them back is they don't have the money. How do you take that question, or that when people say that's my objection for not starting the business?
So I take that objection and I say, that is exactly what people use as an excuse to not get started. We as Americans, and just as, and I know I'm speaking mostly in Americans here because we are military, guys, there's a reason why there's opportunities out there like Tom is sharing with these veteran organizations that have funding for us. There's reasons, I'm not saying to go into massive debt. I'm really against debt for stupid car purchases and homes you can't afford and clothes you can't afford. I'm not against going into debt when it comes to like starting a business that you believe in and you're passionate about and that you can make. I mean, how many times have we heard people using credit cards to actually start their business, to give them that initial push? I mean, there's ways to go about this the right way, the smart way. Not going out and buying a Rolex watch so you look bling bling, but like, actually putting some money down on a space you need to start that thing going. I mean, I just launched my first physical product, and this is going to be something that I'm really excited about. And I got to tell you honestly, like if I had to go into debt to launch this thing, I would, because I believe in it, and I know if this is how I get to get it out to the public, I would find the means to do it. I would find the funding, I'd find the veterans organizations, I would find the credit cards that I need to do it. So, like, don't let that hold you back, guys. Like, we all start in this world, the same place, ground zero, and it's just what we do from there that's going to really make a difference in this world.
And I want to dovetail off that real quick and say there's two types of debt. There's bad debt and good debt, and that's what John just said. There's debt that puts money in your pocket, and there's debt that just takes money out of your pocket. And guess what? Most of the debt Americans, and probably most people around the world, get into is the debt that takes money out of their pocket. It's the new car. It's the new whatever. It's the new suit. It's the new, I don't know, I wear a Fitbit. That's an expense, I guess, but it keeps me fit. But the point is, it's these expenses.
But you can afford it. You didn't go into debt to get it.
I'll tell you what, though. I'm $500,000 in debt. That's kind of crazy to say. But that's all real estate. And it wasn't like I just stumbled on that. I aggressively went out and invested in real estate. So I'm $500,000 in debt, but it makes me money. I'm making money on that debt. And with business, it's the same deal. It's where do you take, if you don't have the funding, you can find money. I guarantee you there's tons of people ready to loan money to people with great ideas that can hustle and make it happen, and then funnel that money into something that does produce income, okay? So we'll get into that today, but I just want to give you another perspective on it. There's good debt and bad debt.
So I just have to mention pre-sales, though, because, I mean, that's the power of having a network and talking with people that just open your mind. So that's the value of this mastermind that we're talking about, and we're kind of getting to, everyone, is we have someone in our group who's actually about to start a clothier. I did that 7 years ago. So I'm able, when you can talk to someone who did what you're about to do 7 years ago, they can help you, like, navigate the path. And I'm like, you simply sell the product before you build it or ship it. And in a sense, you're using your customer to fund the business. So there are many different ways to do things. And so we're seeing a lot of I'm seeing funding. We're also seeing some people are a little bit scared. They don't know if they've got the knowledge or the lack of skills or the education, the location. There are always going to be objections. And that's the power of having a great peer group who can help you address those objections and to actually, minimize the risk, because there's always going to be risk. We're not selling, going to be a millionaire overnight. No, that doesn't happen. That takes a lot of hard work, years of hard work. But when you surround yourself with the right people, you become the average of those great people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah, and Antonio, I want to put an exclamation point on what you said, because it's a great point that you brought up. And guys, I just want you to understand this, is that we teach you how to actually pre-sell what you are going to create, to make sure that there's money in your pockets before you actually go out and actually have to spend money to create that thing. I mean, that's the best thing that you can do, is to actually grow an audience through a medium of your choice. Maybe it's blogging, podcasting, videos. We all have writing a book. We all have experience in all of these things. maybe it's one of those areas, but once you have that audience, guys, that audience is going to tell you what they want. You're going to say, okay, prove it. You tell me you want it. Okay, put your money where your mouth is. Be an early bird. It's going to be X number of dollars to be an early bird now, and it's going to be twice that would open the doors in 2 months to everybody else to join. So that's going to put money in your pocket. That's exactly how I pre-sold Podcaster's Paradise for $197, 35 pre-sales. Then I created the entire course, opened the doors 45 days later at $500, and have just been raising the price since then.
Yeah, my wife just paid $1,400 for it.
Yeah, and his wife just paid $1,400 for it. Didn't even get the military discount, which is insane.
Yeah, she loves your stuff, so.
I love your wife. Amazing.
Hey.
But that's what it's all about, guys. It's about knowing what your audience wants and then handing it to them in that way. And to what Tom was saying too, guys, read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Read check out Robert Kiyosaki's stuff, his Rich Dad radio show. I mean, that's good debt. There's a huge difference between good debt and bad debt. And to get ahead in this life, you need to get into good debt. And that's not always money. That can be time. Time is valuable too. You need to put in the time, go into time debt, commit yourself, make that happen.
I love it. So what's holding you back? A plan and a path to get where you want to go? Maybe that's probably more realistic, right? Well, we've got you covered because that's what today is about. So welcome to today's live training. We've already started, but now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, which is the 5 tools to actually start your 6-figure business in the next 6 months. So here's the deal. We're going to do the quick 60 to 90 second bio.
60
if you don't
seconds.
know John, 60. I'll keep it to 60 seconds. So I'm going to start, then I'm going to pass it off to Antonio, and then we'll go to John. So guys, I'm Tom Morcus, founder of Insurgent Publishing, a book publishing course, or excuse me, a publishing company. I also run Publishers Empire, which I've been investing a lot of time into, which is a book publishing course and membership site. And I help people launch bestsellers, okay? I got my start. I was actually a West Point grad. I spent over 5 years active duty, deployed to Iraq. I'm a combat veteran, led security convoys in Iraq, came back, spent my last year in an SF airborne unit where I got to jump out of helicopters, and that picture right there of me looking straight gangster is me getting ready to jump out of a Black Hawk. And at that time I knew I wanted to go on to do something else. I didn't really want to go get deployed again, didn't really want to just keep grinding it out as the S3. It wasn't really my thing. So I started a blog, I started self-publishing, I got good at that, so I started publishing other people's stuff online. And then I took a year I took a year off to go travel the world. And I did so well in my online business that I kept traveling. So I traveled for 2 years straight, my wife and I. And now I'm finally settled down outside Aspen, Colorado, and I'm building. I've hit 6 figures this year with Insurgent Publishing, and I'm going to get to multiple 6 figures next year is my projection. And it's pretty crazy to be here. And so I'll hand it off to Antonio now.
Hi, I'm Antonio, was with 3rd Battalion 1st Marines from 1998 to 2003, and, deployed multiple times, ended up going over to Iraq, actually was, through, Nasiriyah, Al-Quds, and then over to Baghdad. Got out in 2003, ran a nonprofit, went to business school, and started my first company. And I didn't know what I was doing. I got the fancy education, and what I discovered is getting that fancy MBA, all those degrees was not nearly as valuable as building relationships, going to conferences, meeting the right people, and being able to leverage that. I now own a number of businesses, but my main one is in the fashion and style industry. And if you would have told me that I would be one of the leaders in the men's style and fashion arena and be able to do this within just a few years, well, first off, I never would have thought I'd be in style or fashion, but the fact that I'm able to do this and be able to leverage the fact I have no fashion degree, but simply I'm not afraid to put myself out there. And that's what I love to be able to help people understand, is that if you have the courage to go out there and to give it your all in a very short amount of time, you can master almost anything if you're willing, because very few people are willing to go the extra mile. So if you're willing to do that, you can literally find ways to monetize and to make a healthy living doing whatever you want. I live in a town of 1,000 people, and I do pretty well.
Live like a king.
Boom.
That's right.
Guys, JLD, John Lee Dumas. I'm a 2002 Providence College graduate. Go Friars. We are Division I national hockey champions as we speak. I went into the armor branch out of college, spent 4 years as an active duty armor officer, did a 13-month tour of duty in Fallujah, Habbaniyah, and Aramadi, Iraq. Got out, spent the next 4 years in the reserves, trying law school, corporate finance, commercial real estate, failed for 6 years straight. From 26 to 32, I didn't do anything worthy of mention. In fact, it was just failures across the board, but I learned at every single one of those failures, and I continue to, invest in myself time-wise and energy-wise and money-wise, and finally I found that thing that worked for me. It was investing in a mentor. It was investing in a mastermind. They got my head turned on straight. I got the idea for a podcast. They guided me through it. I launched EO Fire back in 2012. We're now over 1,200 episodes, over 1.2 million listens per month, consistently over $300,000 a month in revenue, with last month actually being our biggest at 542. And what's the most impressive actually about that is that 450K is net revenue. So it's a
The margin is
very
ridiculous.
profit margin impressive business, and that's what we grow. That's what Tom grows, Antonio. We all have very impressive profit margins. We don't just make the big money, we actually keep the big money as well, which is important. So I'm excited about a number of things. One thing that I'm really fired up about is a project I'm working on with Tom called the Freedom Journal. It is my first physical product. You can check it out at thefreedomjournal.com. I got 20,000 of these guys on the boats coming overseas right now, and January 4th the campaign begins. So check it out, guys.
Awesome. I love it. And guys, all real stories. I love it. I never get tired of hearing about John or Antonio's stories, honestly. Like, they inspire me. And I love that each month, or every month that I talk to these guys, or even more often than that, it's like a new milestone that's reached. And we'll get into just surrounding yourself with incredible people and how that raises your game, because I feel like I benefited from that in incredible ways. And again, that's why we want you to be a part of what we do, and we want you to be a part of High Speed Elite and all that. But we'll save that until the end. The point is, if you guys have questions about this stuff, put them in there. I'm going to go through the 5 tools now. And this is get out your pen and paper, take some notes. At the end of this, we will send some notes from the presentation to you, so you can find these tools online, okay? Because we have all the tools for you that you can then access. But I would say if you have pen and paper, take some notes right now. But just in case you don't, we will send you the files so that you can get the stuff and use it. So I definitely want you to pay
Tom,
attention.
I'm going to have to drop off in a couple of minutes for my interview. But
Okay.
Is there anything you want to hit me up with before we leave, or are you going to start rolling through these 5 tools?
You know what? I think we'll just roll through it. I think that's good. I think we're good for now.
Cool.
And
Cool. And I'm going to be here for a couple more minutes. I'm going to jump off the last possible moment, and I'll
awesome.
be checking out the chat.
Yeah, Tom, maybe we could start with the perfect customer avatar, because I know that is something John just
That's a good
nails.
idea.
So we're gonna skip through this, guys. This is totally spur of the moment. I'm gonna close your eyes. Close your eyes. Don't open your eyes yet. Close your eyes.
Eyes closed.
Close your eyes. Okay, open your eyes.
We're gonna be
talk
going
about tool number 4. We're gonna talk about your avatar, not the movie. And real quick, so what is the avatar? It's who you serve. And I'm gonna hand it off to John, because John is a master at this.
And guys, and we're going to be going back. Tom will be going back and going through all of those previous tools step by step, and they're critical. And again, sorry that I can't be with you here for the whole time today. I'm just got back from the Podcaster's Paradise cruise, 7 days on the open seas, and my schedule has been insane trying to catch up from that 7 days of being unplugged on a boat in the Caribbean, which was epic. So, avatar, guys. The biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make by far, by a very wide margin, in my opinion, what I've seen is that they never actually know who that person is they're serving. That one perfect listener for your podcast, viewer for your YouTube channel if you're Antonio, reader for your book if you're Tom, whoever that one person is, they never sit down and take the time to actually craft that avatar, and it's a huge mistake. And the reason why everybody makes it is because they want to serve everybody. I get it. We all want to serve everybody and be all things to everybody, but my friends, When you try to serve everyone, you serve no one 9 times out of 9, period. Especially in this loud, crazy world, you have to start off so niched, so narrow, so specific. And guess what? The world is your oyster after you get that initial momentum. Then you can broaden out, then you can expand, then you can take on more people and more avatars and more things, but you've got to start here. So your avatar is that one perfect client, whatever that person is, however you want to define them. So I'm going to give you an example of what an avatar should sound like. Know that it took me 3 years, and I'm still refining this to get to this avatar. So it doesn't come overnight, but it's going to be a starting place for you. So when you want to sit down at some time and write down 500, 1,000, 1,500 words, defining your avatar, getting to know that person, that female, that male, whoever that might be, it's one person. My avatar is Jimmy. He is 35 years old. He has a wife and 2 kids. Those kids are 3 and 5 years old. He drives to work by himself every single day. It's a 27-minute commute to work. When he gets to work, he sits in a cubicle for 9 hours at a job he hates. Then Jimmy drives home. He gets stuck in traffic, so it's actually a 32-minute commute home. When he gets home, he plays with his kids, has dinner with his wife and his kids, puts his kids to bed, hangs out with his wife for a little while. Then he sits on the couch, kind of like this couch behind me right here. And Jimmy says, why? Why do I spend 90% of my waking hours doing things I don't enjoy doing, sitting in a crummy cubicle, commuting to and from a job I hate? And then why do I spend only 10% of my waking hours doing what I love, spending time with my family, my kids, my wife? Why? Jimmy is my avatar for EO Fire, guys. He is the person that needs to be listening to EO Fire every single day as he drives to work, hearing my guests share their failure moments, how they failed, why they failed, the lessons they learned, so he can start to understand that it's okay to fail. And then when he's driving home, he's going to hear my guests share their aha moments and the reasons that they actually had that aha moment and the steps they took to turn that aha moment into success, so Jimmy can start to understand what it looks like to become a success in this world. And then when he's sitting on the couch at night by himself, Jimmy is not going to be having a pity party for himself. He's going to be listening to the lightning round where my guests are sharing their favorite book or resource, the $500 question, the best advice they ever received. He's going to be getting that content in his head, not his own head games. So Jimmy is my avatar, my friends, and whenever I come to a fork in the road, I'm the host of EO Fire. I'm not the perfect listener. I know that. So I don't make the decisions when I come to a fork in the road of my business. I just say, WWJD, what would Jimmy do? And then I'm off to the races. Left, right, left, right. Jimmy will make your decisions, my friends. You are not the avatar in your business. The minute that you became the head of your business, read the book E-Myth Revisited. As soon as you start a business, you're not your perfect client, no matter what you think you are. So read that book, understand your avatar, make your avatar happen. That's my piece.
Boom. Real quick, John, do you have to piece out right now, or could I ask you maybe like one question follow on?
I can go a couple minutes.
So here's the deal, guys. Since John has to hop off, if you have some questions, you can throw them at him right now, and we'll see what we can facilitate. But the one I want to get to, which is always one that people ask eventually, and I know it's important, is tell me a little bit about, because when you say that, I could listen to that story 100 times, and like there's always a new light bulb in my head that comes on. Like, okay, I really need to dig down on this, or you're right, I have not been getting to the heart of this. To clarify, guys, we've said, you check out eofire.com/income reports, or just go to eofire.com and you'll see the income reports. And you'll see that by him focusing so critically on one person, that detailed, how detailed was that? You almost think, well, that's not necessary, right? And he's used that, but it's so detailed, and you've built it from zero to $500,000 a month. It's insane to me. So put that in perspective when you're listening to this, that this is very real, that he did this based on his avatar. Because I remember having conversations with John about his avatar like 12 months ago, 24 months ago, like when he first started, like honestly. And I remember I listened to the podcast when I first started. But the point is, so I think don't take this, like this is not just like, woo-woo advice. Like John lives and practices, he breathes this every day, and you should too. So really take this into consideration. The question I'll ask you, John, is,
I had 1.29 million listens to my podcast last month. You better believe that 99% of them are not Jimmy. That's what people are terrified about. Like if I make an avatar I'm going to scare away everybody else. No, like you're just actually going to get clear about what you should be creating, and you're still going to attract a horde of other people. So stop letting that scare you. Believe me.
Yes, I love it. So it's so powerful. So the one question I know we get, I think we might have even gotten it, but is the question of starting from scratch, in which I think a lot of people are. They've been to the top, maybe fallen down, or they're kind of re-energizing. How important is surrounding yourself with the right people? Because this is another, I think, important story that you usually tell that, again, is always like enlightening me. It's who you tell us a little bit about the people you spend the time around and how, when you got your start, how you did that, how you were able to do that, and spend the time around the people that could raise you to that next level.
So there's a thing in Australia that's called the tall poppy syndrome, and that's like there's these poppies, which are these like little yellow flowers, and they all grow the same. But every now and then there's like the one poppy that just kind of shoots up for no great reason. And the sad thing is that when that happens in Australia and to entrepreneurs in the business, it's just like that how their culture is. The other entrepreneurs just chop off that. They call it chopping off the poppy head. They just like chop it off. They want to bring them back down to size because they want everybody to be the same, to be growing the same. And guys, like that's what will happen when you don't surround yourself with the right people. You're just hanging out with your buddies from high school. Believe me, I have them. You have them. They're great guys. I'm not saying to ignore them. They're awesome. I still talk to them. I just sent one of them actually a happy birthday the other day. But guess what? Like when I would start to kind of like go a little and get a little excited and talk about business and talk about investing and talking about doing this and doing that, they'd, whoa, 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 like why are you doing that? Like let's just go to the local bar, let's have a couple beers, let's talk about, you know, the football game back in 1998 when you scored the winning touchdown. Like that is the mentality of a lot of my friends from high school, and they're happy doing that, but that wasn't for me, and I couldn't stay in that environment. You know, that's one of the reasons I moved to San Diego, because I knew that this is a absolute amazing area of inspiring entrepreneurs, and I wanted to be around people like this. I've become friends with Pat Flynn, with Lewis Howes, with Rick Mulready, with all these people that live here because they're awesome and they're inspiring, they're doing great things. So like that's just kind of a little bit of a food for thought, guys, is that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So when I launched, you know, I immediately paid $3,500 out of pocket to join Cliff Ravenscraft's podcast Mastermind, to be part of this mastermind for a full, you know, it was like a 4-month mastermind, to be a part of it and to be surrounded by other people who are launching their podcasts who had that same mentality. You know, they weren't rock stars. They had fears. They had doubts. They had, you know, worries. But there was Cliff Ravenscraft who was there guiding us along the way. And that's what we are. Like, we are your, like, guides along this journey. So you're going to be scared. You're going to be, you know, terrified, as we are still to this day. But, you know, you're going to be able to resonate with other people who are in this group, you know, this troop, this squad that we're putting together. So you guys can have those conversations and build each other up and keep each other going, which is so important. And then you're also going to have us, people who have been there and done that, but still wake up every morning, you know, filled with fear and the imposter syndrome and doubt, because that's what being a human being is all about. So that's what I got to say about that.
I love it. Great. Well, if I don't know if there's anything else to add, Antonio, or if we have any questions from the audience for John specifically right now on this topic. Otherwise, what I'll do is I think I'll move it back to the first tool.
Yeah, well, I love what Josh Brown said too, because I use this a lot in EO Fire. The crabs in a bucket analogy, that's when the crabs, like, you can just keep crabs in a bucket, because if one tries to actually crawl out, the other crabs will pull him back down. Like, you'll never have to worry about a crab getting out of a bucket because his other buddy is pulling him back in. And that's what happens when you don't surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah, it's actually like kind of sad and terrifying sometimes, but it's cool because it is within. It's all within our power to change that. It really, truly is, and I really resonate with like the high school friend type thing. Like,
yeah,
everybody, you know, you like, want to hang out with these guys. Like, you know them, you can reminisce.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just. You know,
all right, I gotta go.
All right.
You gotta roll.
Happy Veterans Day to everybody. Love you guys, and hope to be catching you in a high-speed elite over the next 6 months. Peace.
Sounds good.
Take care, John.
See you, John.
Guys, so we're going to go back to
and we've got some good questions. Jennifer
Yeah,
just came in, and she's saying, how do you narrow down your niche? Just experimenting with potential clients, friends, family, etc., to get a feel for who that perfect avatar is. You know, Jennifer, I like to start getting in front of people and figure out, basically, you know, if you're going to, with Jennifer, I'm kind of looking at what you've been talking about, being a life coach. I mean, that's a really tough business. I'll tell you straight up. I know a number of life coaches. Some are incredibly successful. The vast majority are not. The vast majority are not successful because they can't figure out exactly what burning problem they're going to solve. So if you want to create a hobby, if you want to create something that's a nonprofit and somehow you're going to get funding, then you can, you can go and you can try to help a lot of people, and you can try to help those that aren't able to pay for it. And that is a great thing. There's a reason why nonprofits exist. But if you're going to take it towards the business angle and you want to be, you want to really monetize as a business coach or as a life coach, you're going to have to figure out how can I become so specific, so valuable that people or businesses or companies perhaps are willing to pay me so that this is actually something I can do for a living. If you're going to, and that's something you're going to have to figure that out for yourself. But I would say you've got to solve a burning problem. This is my favorite example because it's, to me, a perfect example of a business that solves a burning problem. Just this weekend on Saturday midday, Sunday, we had a party. We had about 50 people come over to our house. It's my daughter's 1-year-old birthday. But on Saturday afternoon, I go down into my basement and we're having backflow in the sewer. And basically, I've got these old pipes that go out of my house, and they are clay. And I can start to smell. I'm like, okay, there's a problem down here. Now, if you can solve that problem for me, I call up a guy, and these sewer services, he's very clear. If I come out, I can send a guy out on a Sunday. We have to charge you double. It's an emergency service. And you know what? He is solving a problem that is so painful. I don't care what he charges me. Happy wife, happy life. I don't care. So literally, it's something, it took him 30 minutes to fix that problem with the specialty equipment. And I got a bill for $400. Now, I didn't really care because at the end of the day, I mean, I did, but I had money. I had money set aside for emergencies like that. But that is a perfect example of a business that solves a burning problem. If you've got a migraine headache, you will pay to solve that problem. While vitamins, people, vitamins are a dime a dozen. And if you skip vitamins for a couple of days, you don't notice. So you've got to zero in and find the niche. Find that perfect customer avatar who that problem is so acute, it's so painful that they are willing to pay for it, or somebody with the purse strings is willing to pay. And you've got to figure out like who's gonna pay for it, and then you have a business.
I love it, and I think we can dig more into that. We will have a full Q&A session, guys, to dig into these things. And so keep the questions coming if you want. And I'll get to them, but what I want to get through the 5 tools at least so you guys have an overview of like what we're talking about.
Yep.
So the tool number 1 is the lean canvas. This is where it all begins, and this actually kind of answers that question a little bit more detail where you're like, well, where do I start? You start finding your avatar with the lean canvas with your one-page business model. So that's why it's a little disjointed. We kind of jumped to 4, but you start with this because this one-page document will show you who your customer is, what's their problem, how do you solve it, what makes you unique, why should I pay for you? And it's going to force you to think through these things the same way. What's interesting is there's not, as you can see the way this is broken up, there's not actually like a structure to like you have to answer this question first, then this question second, and this third. It's iterative, which is to say that you can start with, say, your customer segment, and then you go to your early adopter, your sales channels, and so on and so forth. And then once you get to problems and solutions, you might find, well, now that kind of changes things. So every business starts right here. It starts being able to present their business in one page. This is something that startups use in Silicon Valley that end up going to fund or get funded. Series A funding is what, like $500,000 or $1 million bucks, and then when they get their Series, what is it, A or B funding, it's like $8 million or $4 to $8 million. The point is they start with this. This is the model to use. Because honestly, if a Silicon Valley company, startup can't answer this in one page, they don't have a business. They don't have a business model that can actually grow. And the thing is, what's important, I guess I will say to this, and you guys will get this resource, but you need to start with this canvas. You need to sit down with it, and you need to brainstorm, and you need to spend a couple hours on it and think through it. Fundamentally, you should be able to answer all these questions. Who is my customer? How do I reach them? That's the sales channels piece, the path to the customer. That's one of the most important, in my opinion. What's your unfair advantage? That's hugely important. If you're jumping into, say, life coaching, well, what sets you apart, which would be your unique value proposition, but what's your unfair advantage in that space as well? So what sets you apart would be your unique value proposition. Your unfair advantage, how can you break into this space? Even if you have something unique, what gives you an advantage? Because here's the deal. If it's done easily, then anyone can do it. Seth Godin says it this way. What are you doing that's hard? Because if you're not doing something hard, then anyone else can do it. So that's what your unfair advantage is. It's that hard thing that you do that nobody else can do, or that very few people can do. Then we talk about problems, solutions. That's pretty straightforward, but we can dive into that in the Q&A. Antonio, John, myself, we know the problem that our customer has, and we can solve it better.
And Tom, I just shared the page in case for some reason you did not get to download. I sent you the page. It's over at highspeedlowdrag/bonus, and you can download all of these tools. They're completely free. Please take them, apply them to your business. Guys, this is, each of these are a worksheet. If you do these worksheets, you are ahead of most business owners.
Yep. And so finally, wrapping up the one-page business model, you need to identify the key metrics piece. So if you notice the way I'm doing these, you start with the market, generally speaking, then you go to the product, and then you go back and forth, and you make sure it fits. That's called product market fit. So if you guys have ever read any startup books or business books, there's always this concept of product market fit. The product, which is what you're creating and selling, and it's solving a problem, and how does that fit into the marketplace? So it goes back and forth. So if you're starting from scratch, or you have an idea of what you want to do, say if you're doing the life coaching or something like that, you have an idea of the market, you have an idea of the product. Well, you need to sit down with this, and you need to be able to answer every single one of these sections. So I'm going to leave it at that, and we can leave. If there's any more questions on this, we can come back to it in the Q&A. But fundamentally, I will say that the lean canvas, or just a one-page business model, there's a few variations. I'm a big fan of the lean canvas, but the lean canvas will answer who are your customers, what's their major pain, and how can you uniquely solve their pain. Okay? So that's it. That's fundamentally what you want to take from this. And I would go into the EO Fire case study, but we actually already did when we talked about Avatar. John was able to, just to iterate, John was able to figure out who he served and solve that pain. And I remember I was one of his early listeners. I was in the Army at the time. I would drive an hour to work. I was at Fort Campbell. I lived in Nashville, Tennessee. Trust me, I'm not upset about that decision. It was a great decision. Nashville is awesome. But I would drive over an hour to work every day to Fort Campbell. I'd drive an hour back. And I would listen to John's podcast because it was daily. So even though I'm not Jimmy per se, I'm Tom, you know what I mean? I was pretty close. I was in that car a lot. I was ready for an hour-long interview, and I wanted to learn about business. And he solved that. And I'm just one example of his millions of listeners. And I definitely got attached to John. I was like, man, this guy is killing it. I love these daily interviews. So that's what this case study for EO Fire is all about. And John answered it by really defining his avatar. So the second tool we're going to go into here is the elevator pitch formula. So write that down, elevator pitch formula. Once you build your business model, you need to be able to actually present it to people, say in like 30 seconds. The brain has a capacity of about 5 to 10 seconds to really care about something. Less than that, honestly. There have been studies that show when somebody comes to a website, it's like 3 seconds and you make an impression. And the impression is either good or bad. Well, when it comes to actually getting the chance to talk to somebody, you have a little bit longer, but not much. People are either interested in what you do or they're not, and then they shut off. So the elevator pitch formula shows you how to present your idea in about 15 seconds. So how to pitch yourself to anyone. Here's the formula, guys. I help blank. Who do you serve? Do blank. How do you help them? So they can blank. Results they get. So who do you serve? How do you help them? What are the results you're giving them? This honestly is going to help you. Also, all these things are interconnected. That's the thing. It's no like do this, do this, do this. That's partially you want to do it in order, but you have to come back to these things iteratively. And you have to realize that when you do this, you might have to go back to your business model canvas and kind of tweak some things a little bit. And then you might have to go to your avatar and tweak that a little bit, or vice versa, right? But I'll use myself as a case study. When I started in search and publishing, I thought I would publish anybody. And then within like a day or two, I was like, that's crazy. Stop that immediately. I started getting requests from people with books, and I was like, I don't care about this book at all. And I was like, if I don't care about a book, why would I ever publish it? Like I can see if I can charge high enough or if I could do it like with a high enough margin, which is what publishing houses do, that I can make money, but I don't want to be in that business. I want to actually do stuff that working with people I enjoy. So then I started to refine that. So I finally got this in the last, it took me about a year to get here, but it's been gradually getting there, and that's what John talks about. I help entrepreneurs, CEOs, and startup founders turn their books into bestsellers, lead generators, and recurring revenue streams so they can get massive media exposure, sell thousands of books, and become thought leaders in their industries. So here's the deal. I don't work with the guy that has written a book in his spare time as a hobby and just wants to put it out there so his friends and families can buy it. Not my customer. I mean, all the best power to you, but that's not who I serve. And what's interesting about this too, so when you really think about it, I'm able to then charge a premium because the people I'm serving I'm solving a very big problem for these people. And the thing is, I'm not only solving a problem, I'm showing them that if they invest X, I'll provide them 10X, okay? So they put an X to me, and I'll make 10 times what they invest into me. Does that make sense? If you can do that for somebody, I mean, that's it. Like that, honestly, that's the nail on the head. That's what made me go from kind of scrappy bootstrapper trying to figure out this internet thing to finally being able to say I broke 6 figures this month or this year. Why? Because the last 2 months I've been able to generate over 50% of my revenue because I finally pinpointed this. And I've gotten to work with now CEOs, entrepreneurs, and startup founders who have money. This is a burning problem. They want the solution, and I'm able to actually provide it. Okay? So that's my case study, guys. But it can be yours too. You just have to think in terms of your industry, and we can get to that as well. So tool number 3 is the Eisenhower matrix. So I know it's Veterans Day. It couldn't be more appropriate than to turn to Eisenhower to solve a problem for us. So I'm going to give this to Antonio because he's the man that turned me onto this. I actually didn't know it existed before, and then Antonio was like, one time we were talking, and he showed me his whiteboard, which I've mimicked as well. And I actually have an Eisenhower board on here. And he was like, well, here's my Eisenhower board, or my Eisenhower matrix. I was like, okay, let's do it.
Well, didn't you actually know somebody that slept in Eisenhower's rack or something? Or
Probably, like at West Point, Eisenhower Barracks? Yeah, totally. I mean,
yeah, I
I'm
thought
sure
I thought like I was talking with someone at West Point that like they actually slept, or it may. I always think it's interesting because you guys you West Pointers, you guys had all those like
very
little
weird
things.
traditions.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so basic Eisenhower matrix, and again, you've got access to this. We created it for you. Is across the top, you've got urgent and not urgent, and then going over to the left-hand side, I've got important and not important. The problem, because who doesn't feel this in today's connected world? You're getting all these beeps on your phone. You're getting, just everything's being pulled. It seems like every moment is taken. The problem is most things out there appear to be urgent, but they are not important. When you are starting a business, or if you have a business and you're not organized, and believe me, you can organize your business and then within a few months, if you don't continue on this, all of a sudden it can fall into disarray. It's like the second law of thermodynamics or something. What goes from order to disorder will always happen. But the point is you've got this tool to help bring order because you have to focus in on what is important and urgent and important and non-urgent. Both of those top two are where I've got my board here, and those are the things I focus in on. What is important and urgent, usually in your business, those are the projects that are going to make you money. That, for me, right now, I've got some sponsored posts. I need to film video because I'm getting paid $5,000, $10,000 for every sponsored video I put out. So that pays the bills. That I'm very happy to do that because I get all this free product, but that is important and urgent. It has a deadline. It has a time period. It is actually bringing money into my company, and therefore, I need to do it. Now, what's important and not urgent is actually very interesting. These are things which, daily exercise, spending time with my kids, spending time with my wife. I actually have this on my board because sometimes I can work late. And if you keep doing that, guess what? I'm taking away, like I literally have to get out of the office to go have a date night with my wife, to have date. I've got 4 kids and I want to spend time with them. And I have to, if I don't have that there, it builds up and very quickly it can, if you do this for a year, there was a time I was losing contact with my son. And I realized this, and that's why I put it on this board, because it can happen when you work too hard or you're staying too busy. You can lose that. Now, all the non-important and urgent things, those are other people's issues, other people's problems, or it's things that when you're starting a business, and if you're spending a lot of time on Instagram and you've got 200 followers, I'm sure, you or your Facebook page and you've got 50 fans or 25 fans on your Facebook page, even if you have, I've got 60,000 fans on my Facebook page. And guess what? I don't update my Facebook page. My assistant, my social media assistant, who I pay $600 a month, she's in the Philippines, is full-time. She manages all of my social media because social media is cool. But you know what? That is not what creates sales. I mean, it's sort of, it can lead to sales, but I focus on product creation, on the only things I can do in my business. And if you aren't careful, you can find that you will spend an entire day running on a treadmill, doing the things that are not important and in some cases not even urgent. You just find, and that's, so if you are doing things that are at the bottom of this matrix, you have to identify them and you need to make sure you're not doing them and either just let them fall off and don't do them, or you need to hand them off, hire an assistant. And there are, like what I talked about, I've got 3 people that work for me in the Philippines, 2 people in Ukraine. I've got 1 person over in Bulgaria. I've got another guy I just hired down in Houston, Texas. But and I can talk to you about remote teams. This is kind of one thing I love doing and talking about. But the point is, use this matrix to bring order to disorder in your business.
I love it. So guys, I will say too, as we get into, and this is the case study that Antonio just gave us, was the Real Men, Real Style one. And we've hit the avatars, so I'm going to skip through that as well. And I want to get to probably the thing that can kind of take you to the next level, or without it, keep you where you are, which is tool number 5, the mastermind, and not the game. Did you know, and we've already spilled the beans on this one, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. We've hit this point a few times, and it's because it's natural. For Antonio, John, and myself, we recognize how important this is. Who do you sit by? Who do you talk to? Who do you hang out with on the weekends? Who do you call on the weekdays? Who do you engage with? These are the people that you spend the most time with are become your average. Okay? So if you're not setting that bar high, what happens? Okay? So think about that. So what is the mastermind? Well, a mastermind is a small group of like-minded people who come together consistently once a week or once a month. I prefer weekly to hold you accountable. There's a lot that can happen in a month. I don't actually believe in monthly masterminds, to be honest with you. I prefer the weekly, to help one another set and achieve their goals. So here are just some of the famous masterminds that are out there. The Inklings, if you've ever heard of Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, C.S. Lewis, Chronicles of Narnia, Barfield and Williams. These are some of the greatest writers of like the last 2,000 or 3,000 years, and they were all hanging out together, writing some of the most famous, biggest books of their generation for sure, and still big today, which is a testament to what they wrote. The Junto, which is Benjamin Franklin's crew. He wasn't just a lone genius doing his stuff. He was working with a few other people, a few very like-minded people to help him get to where he was. And Dale Carnegie, who, again, famous through Think and Grow Rich, was one of the proprietors of, or one of the guys that kind of promoted the idea of masterminds. And then, of course, High Speed Elite, which may or may not be the most famous of all of them, John Lee Dumas, Antonio Centeno, and Tom Morkis, plus many of you other rock stars who are in this group today. I know some of you guys are going to join us, but we already have a crew of 6 for this next session. We've gone through we've had about 20 students through here that
Yeah,
are now
we've got
still part of our
we've got a
mastermind.
total group of about 26,
26 total.
and the cool part about this is we say 6 months, but honestly, we've had guys that's been showing up for a year and a half, and we don't kick anyone out. The group gets stronger as it gets bigger, and it's two parts to it of the mastermind and the mentorship. It really depends on where you're at with your business. It is something that we have a lot of fun with, and it starts off hard. Like in fact, this Monday we're having our first new one where we're bringing in the new guys and new gals. We do have currently one new woman that's joining us as well, and everyone there's a vet. We have fun with it. We play off each other's services, but most importantly, we help each other grow our businesses. And these are real stories. We were just talking with there's Dave over at Kindlepreneur. He's just been kicking butt and doing amazing things. We've got gosh.
BJ, who's starting a brewery in
Yeah.
California, which is either one of those things that sounds like either going to be like it's going to blow up in his face or be a huge success, but I think it's going to be a huge success because he's done it the right way. He's going into a place where there's tons of competition. He's starting a physical-based brewery in
Mark
California.
just started 6 months ago. Mark he didn't even have this idea, and it started formulating. Now he's got a book that is about ready to get published, and he's shopping around for different publishing agencies, and it takes something that he didn't even think could be a strength, literally his disabled son, and he's now parlayed that into talking about this experience of how having to raise his disabled son has really transformed and made him a better man. That's one of my favorite stories, and I was going to use this to help other single fathers out there that are in the same situation, or other parents, single parents raising disabled kids.
Which is so powerful. So we talk about Avatar. We talk about finding your. When I heard his story, I was like, why are you not telling more people about this? Because the way he's got, and he'd done it. He'd done a presentation to a small group of people. It was actually like he does mixed martial arts and stuff like that. So he'd done a presentation about his experience and how he handled that and how he dealt with that. And I remember thinking, like, I know my nephew is disabled, and so my sister goes through that on a daily basis. And I'm almost like, man, you know what? These are the people that need to hear the story. Because by you not spreading that story, by you not sharing that, you're doing a disservice to these other people that need it, honestly. So I don't want to get into the details in that, but the point is there are all these great people doing great things, I think, in High Speed Elite. And we'll get to that in a second. If you guys want to jump over to highspeedelite.com, open up a new tab, and check it out, you'll get some details there about what it's all about. But I just want to say, here's the deal to an effective mastermind, is you need to have members that have similar goals, similar objectives, and similar values to you. Because if your values, your objectives, your goals are misaligned, if you care about family and building wealth to protect your family and feel financially secure, and the other person in your group cares about playing Halo and being able to drink 12 beers and not feeling drunk, right, high school friends, maybe that's not somebody that should be in your mastermind, okay? And that's a hard thing. You have to actually push yourself away from certain people and then find other people and approach them and become friends with them. That's a tough thing to do a little bit. I know it can be, especially finding the right people. But you need to find the people that will bring you to the next level. The second thing is consistency. Again, I love weekly. Monthly can work too. It can be really good. I love weekly. I love the fact that I'm held accountable weekly to the goals I set, and that the other people in my group will hold me accountable. And if I don't, they'll be like, well, what are you doing then, Tom? You said last week you'd have this done. What are you doing? And they'll call baloney on me when I start a new project, and they'll be like, why are you doing that? Focus on this. This is what you said you were going to do. Focus on this. Do this. Take these next steps. And it's crazy the feedback you get in the mastermind because it's honest. It's not bull, I could swear here, but it's not bull like advice that you get generically from people. And it's not advice from your friends or family. God bless them.
Yeah, so really quick, I see we still have Alan, Anthony, Arturo, Bob, Christopher, David, Doug, G, Gary, Jason, Jennifer, good to see you still, Joshua, Casey, Kyle, Maxwell. I can tell you guys, if you join High Speed Elite and if your business is ugly, I'm going to tell you. Like, it's straight up, we're not going to we're not going to just sugar. We'll be nice, but what you need is not a whole bunch of people of yes men or yes women that are going to say, "Oh, that sounds like such a good idea." We're going to ask you the hard questions because if you're serious about business, you want us to ask you the hard questions before you spend 6 months to a year of your life and $100,000 your own money going out there and building a business that
And
no,
trying
it's
to learn it on your own.
well, throwing a party that nobody shows up to. And that is, it's just the worst thing in the world when you engineer and build out a product or design something or spend $20,000, $15,000 on this beautiful website solving a problem that nobody cares about. And that's what we talk about at High Speed League. And we've had people in the group, to be honest, had to scrap their business idea because they were all over the place and have
Yep.
struggled. And you know what? It's better, I think, for them to struggle with us and for us to continue to push them along than for, we've had people say maybe entrepreneurship at this point is not right for me. And that's better than them going out there and just hitting a wall again and again and thinking that something is, getting disillusioned with life. They've just realized, this is something that wow, I really have to take a step back and reevaluate this. And and
You know
so,
what?
so
It's such a powerful concept, and I'll get to this, and then I want to dig into this. I'm getting some good comments here. I think they're just like chat messages, so I don't know if this goes out to everybody publicly, but I'll come to these. Jennifer, Kyle, Jason, thank you for the comments. So we'll get to those in just a second. But I will say the last piece to an effective mastermind here is that people who are committed to you and what you want to do, and people that ultimately you would like to emulate in business and life. And so when I saw John and Antonio, I was getting out of the Army, and Antonio gave me a call, connected through John Corcoran, who like knows everybody in the world, it seems like, and he connected the two of us. And I remember I was in TAPS, a Transition Assistance Program, right? And I took that call, and Antonio was like, hey, talking to me about what he's working on and so on and so forth, and he was telling me about this idea for high-speed, low-drag, and high-speed elite, helping veterans transition. And I was like, well, I'm going through the transition program right now, and I can tell you, nobody is engaged in this program. There's 20 people in there. There's like colonels on down to privates, and nobody cares about it. And it's sad. It's terrifying because these people are getting out. The colonels, I'm sure they'll be all right. They'll get some middle management thing. I feel super bad for anybody who's lower enlisted who's going through this, and it's like it doesn't really apply to them. And then you go to the job fair, and all they can do is get a trucking job. And it's like, really? Is that the best we can do? And so I say that because you really need to surround yourself with people that you admire and who you want to emulate. You don't want to surround yourself with your high school buddies unless they're like the same people you want to emulate, you know what I mean? But you want to surround yourself, you want to find people like Antonio and John that you can emulate, that you could be like, that you say, they're running a business that I want to run. Because here's the deal, how's the best way to get from point A to point B? Well, it's not always a straight path, number one, but number two is probably following somebody else who knows their way, right? I mean, fundamentally, we don't really think about it that way. The best way to get to point A to point B is to follow somebody who's already gone that path and just follow their tracks. Because they made it easier for you. So that's fundamentally what a great mastermind is all about. So these are the 5 tools, guys, just as a summary. The lean canvas. You have to fill this thing out. The elevator pitch formula. This is what can sell you and get you a client immediately when you tell them what you do. The Eisenhower matrix. Stop spending your time on non-productive things that don't do anything. Haven't even talked about the 80-20 principle, but that's a piece of this. It's saying what are the few things you do that create the biggest results. The Eisenhower matrix will force you to figure out what those few activities are that are the best producing, okay? Your customer avatar. How do you actually define who you're serving? And finally, the mastermind, surrounding yourself with the people who will help you succeed in life, okay? So here's the deal. Quick break, not for us, but for you guys if you want to grab some water. Q&A session plus your free gift. So the people that hung around, thank you so much. We have a great group of people still on here. Alan, Arturo, Bob, Chris, Dave, Doug, G. Arco. I don't know what your first name is, G, but it's cool. Gary, Jason, Jennifer, Josh, Casey, Kyle, Maxwell, and a bunch of other great people. I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us. So we're going to give you a free gift in just a second. And so what I want to encourage you right now is go ahead and type in your questions right now or your struggles. If you don't have a question, just tell me, what is the number one thing you're struggling with right now? even just at the end of this, we've been on here for over an hour, which is crazy to think about. But after an hour of conversation with John, Antonio, and I, what is coming to life for you? Because sometimes these conversations, I think, can like break some surfaces and things can start to rise out. The kind of emotions, right? Negative but powerful emotions. Sometimes positive, but a lot of negative emotions can rise out and say, well, I'm not like you. I don't have this situation. I wasn't, given this, or whatever. And these things can kind of rise out, and these hurdles or challenges or fears can come out. So tell me a little bit about your fears. So if you're struggling with something right now, write that down. Put it into the chat box right now. If you have a fear about something, put it in there. If you're struggling with something like in a business that you're trying to start right now, that's even better, and we can dig into that as well. Put that here right now. And if you're, just at the total beginning, tell us what would be the number one question that would help you get off to a good start.
Yeah,
And that's what I like to start with.
I would love to hear also if anyone a little bit more about your business ideas. I mean, so we've got some people that have talked about some of the books they've put out. Jason Ladd's out there. He's saying that Tom, you helped him with his book. So you've got, Jennifer's been telling me a lot about her business and what she's been looking for. And I think just straight up, we're not going to, Jennifer, if you're going to launch this, you need to be aware that most people looking to launch a business in your sector fail. And you have to go into this with your eyes wide open. However, the reason they fail is they just don't have that. They don't focus on a customer who can help them pay the bills, and you just have to be aware of that. And if you're going to go into it and it's going to be a hobby, that's great, that's fine. But if you want to make it a sustainable business that can pay you a healthy amount of money, so that you can live well, you're going to have to adjust things in that business. Now, there are people that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars as a life coach. And they do that because they've got various sources of income and they figured out ways to scale. They've maybe taken on only a few select clients who are at a price point that they're able to really afford very private and high level service. I'm seeing we're seeing a little bit of the Pareto principle out there.
Yeah, a couple questions. I will say that actually there's a couple of people, I forgot to point this out, but David is actually from just across the street from Fort Lewis. I deployed from Fort Lewis. I was in the fourth. I'm blanking on it. I was on the 4th Striker Brigade. I was in the 202 at the time. I think it's probably reclassified now, but that's interesting to think about. We got some great people. We got people from Denver here, from the Coast Guard, USN, Army, 101st. Because I don't know if we ever decided how many people were from what here. But that's awesome. So guys, go ahead and throw your questions in here. And what I will say is that, real quick, before we get to the questions, I will say that just so you know, John, Antonio, myself, and John, if you could be here, if you join High Speed Elite, you'll obviously get access to John. John stopped doing one-on-one consulting, he stopped doing group consulting. He had hit the $2,000 per hour threshold, and he stopped doing that because he can make $25,000 in the morning and then go to breakfast. So it doesn't actually make sense for him to charge that as a service, which is important to take into consideration that as we do these conversations here, or as we give you feedback, that you're looking at a group of people who can answer questions for you that would normally charge thousands of dollars.
Yeah, maybe Tom, you want to move over to, we can talk about High Speed Elite. And basically, this is something, so you guys have the 5 tools. You're welcome to take that and start. But if you're serious about getting your business started or taking your existing business, and half the guys in this group, honestly, they've already got businesses. We've had people that have been in business for 30 years, people that have been in business for 3 years, already making $100,000, maybe $250,000 a year as a consultant, and they're trying to think, how can I take this to the next level? Because there's always that next level. If you're making $1,000 a month, you're trying to figure out, how can I get to 10,000? If you're making 10,000 a day, you're trying to figure out, well, how can I scale this so I could really expand this, and I can there's always a next level to go to, and that's where you surround yourself with the right people, and that's what this mastermind is such is so powerful. It's 6 months long, guys, and it goes beyond this. The first 8 weeks, solid, MBA level course training. I took the best of what I learned when I got my MBA from the University of Texas, and we've applied some of the best lessons to learn online. So we spend the first 2 months really focused in. Again, we're starting this Monday, and we're going to be going through. We do make it interactive. It's something that if you know some of this stuff, you can skip through it. However, we do feel that these are the fundamentals. It's worth learning them, and this stuff really works. And then, like we said, we've got a mastermind every single week on Mondays, and then past that, after the first 2 months, it then goes to a monthly system in which we're just having. Actually, it's twice a month, right, Tom?
Twice a month, yeah.
Yep. So every 2 weeks we're having it, and we're holding people accountable. People are at different levels, but it's something that when you're going through this, and you're going to get to know the people in the group. Initially, we keep you with the entry-level class, but if we find, we have one guy that came in, he's starting, like I said, a custom clothing company. So guess what? I'm going to take him under my wing because specifically what he's doing fits with my niche. We've had people that come in and they want to be podcasters. Well, they go over towards and they start to gravitate more towards what John is doing, and they show up to events and they meet with John, which most people don't get this type of access. I have a conference in Atlanta called StyleCon. People come out to my StyleCon event, and I simply introduce them to other people who are doing amazing things.
I love it. And a couple of things that are included in High Speed Elite before we get to the questions, and I see some good questions rolling in. So again, guys, just tell me where you're struggling or what questions you have, and we'll dig into these, I promise. And I'll give you your bonus in just a second. One of the bonuses, actually, I'll say right now, type in your number right now so I get it, and we'll follow up with a lightning session 101. But for right now, I want to focus on. I love it, Jennifer. Thank you. So send in your cell phone or your number or your Skype if you're outside of the U.S. because we've had some Canadian veterans join us and some other people outside of the U.S. So it's just veterans. It doesn't matter what country you're from. So put it in there. Put in Skype if you prefer Skype. But I will get to this. So a couple other things that make High Speed Elite.
If there's any Scots out there, I don't know. My wife's Ukrainian, so I have a deal with any type of.
I studied abroad in Russia, so I feel like we can do that too. I trained with the Uzbekistani Tank Academy and Kazakhstan military and Russian. So if you guys speak Russian, we can facilitate you too as well. So guys, here's the deal. With High Speed Elite, you're not only going to get the weekly mastermind call, it's way more than that. You have a lifetime access to our private Facebook group, which we may eventually build into a forum, but lifetime access. Once you're in, you're in. You also get lifetime access to all these calls. We'll be inviting in last group and the group before that into these mastermind calls so you can get acquainted with the other members that are in here, because here's the deal. Our tribe, our group gets stronger the more great people we can bring into it. So you'll benefit from that. So the earlier you get in, the more benefit you get going forward, okay? So not only do you get an MBA level program, not only do you get the mastermind and lifetime access to the course and to the Facebook group, but you can also just keep jumping into our calls, into our group calls. But there's a couple other things that we do that I think are pretty cool. So we already talked a little bit about the weekly small group coaching and mastermind. But one of the things I wanted to say was that we also do one-on-one calls. So one-on-one accountability and strategy calls. That's me with Seth Godin, who may or may not have said, wow, what an offer. And the reality is that twice per month, you can call one of us. We can do a one-on-one call with you. And so I'll help facilitate. For example, so if you want one-on-one help, you are struggling with a particular area, I'll get on a call with you, and I'll walk you through how to solve it. That could be tech. It could be just you're feeling down. It could be just that you're not sure what to do next. And we'll help you out one-on-one, which literally there's no other program that I've ever seen that does this. And this is the one-on-one help that will take you to the next level, in my opinion, that you will not get anywhere else. And that if you're struggling with something, will get you to that next level that you really need.
Yeah, because it's those little things that can throw you off. And I think it's funny, you mentioned tech, but some of you guys, it's like, okay, I've been working hard. I've been in real estate. I've been, in construction. I've ran businesses before, and I want to become a thought leader. But how do you may know a lot. You may have, created multi-million-dollar deals in construction, but you have no idea perhaps how to construct a website. And that intimidates you. And guess what? That's something that we do all the time, and where we can, I mean, we focus in on online businesses. I have a tech team. I have artists. I have, I have these assets at my disposal, and that's what you get. You've got a question about podcasting, you've got access to the man. You have a question about video production. Well, I've put out over 1,000 videos. You need help putting out a book, or you want a bestseller on Amazon. Well, you've got a guy right here who has helped multiple people get their message out via book, via ebook, via audio. We're here to help facilitate your quick ascension.
And I will say, I don't want to like to brag, but sometimes I do. I will say that I am working with some of the premier startup and business writers in the world right now. And I won't drop names, but if you were curious about book publishing, I promise you that I'm working with some of literally the top dogs in the world in the subject matters that they write in. And so if you're looking for help publishing, now you have access to us. And Antonio is literally one of the premier guys on YouTube advertising and just YouTube. He's got millions of viewers on YouTube. It's ridiculous. I've never seen that before. So here's the deal.
I was about to say there are some gamers that have that make me appear very,
sure
very
video
small.
games,
Yeah.
So what is the value of high-speed elite? Hourly rates of John, Antonio, and Tom, $1,000 per hour. Me, I probably charge maybe $250 to $500. John or Antonio, I think you're probably $1,000 plus. Antonio, you're $1,000 plus. I think John. I know John was at 2,000 and stopped doing it. So I don't even know what you're at. Can I even get you one-on-one, Antonio, to pay for coaching?
Yeah, I really don't do it anymore. It's the same thing with John. I just create products, and really, I just don't have time for it. So the only people, John and I, and in many cases Tom, we make time for are vets. This is our way of giving back. We've all had people under our charge that either didn't come back, or that have I've been having been deployed multiple times. I'm sick and tired of seeing guys kill themselves. I'm sick and tired of coming back and the perception. Today's Veterans Day, and everyone's saying thanks for serving, and tomorrow they'll move on to something else. And when it comes down to it, there's still we spend all this money training soldiers, Marines, sailors, coasties up, and when they get out, we don't even have a product. The VA isn't. It isn't even really. We don't even have hospitals. They are hospitals, but they're not technically defined as it's not a healthcare benefit, which I found out. It's very interesting how that's set up for us. But it's just so frustrating that they spend all this money on a B-2 bomber, but when it comes to helping, they're going to try to take away benefits for vets to go get to be able to educate themselves or things like that. And so we wanted to create a program which was not connected to the government at all, and simply took people that are kicking ass in the civilian world, and for us to be able to help you guys fulfill your dream, be able to do what you want to do via the online medium, with book, podcasting, audio, video. We can help you out here.
Yeah. So I always put these numbers here to give you a bit of kind of reference. An MBA costs $70,000 plus, probably $100,000 plus now. Setting up a website or a platform is way over $2,000. It's probably $5,000 to $10,000, honestly. And if you were actually looking for one-on-one coaching, if you asked John what he had spent, and I know I think you paid for Jamie Tardy as well, and it was like a $5,000 to $1,000 a month for that. So if you're looking at 6 months of that, that's $6,000. So the point is here, the total value here is well over $90,000. And to connect with guys like John and Antonio and myself, and I always put John and Antonio in a different realm than me, in this realm that I think
because I'm a Marine.
Because he's a Marine.
That's right.
Exactly.
Now by the way, we got some great questions here. I want to answer some of these, so I'm going to let Tom talk. But we get some I'm seeing some good ones.
Yeah,
Josh,
let's get into it. So guys, here's the deal. That's the value. You see what it's at. You've heard us talk. If you want to be a part of this and move forward, put your number in the in the comments or the question box. and we'll do the lightning session right after this. I'm going to be calling everybody tonight, so here's the deal. Sorry about that. I know it's getting late, but I'm going to try to hit with everybody tonight to talk, if we can, to coordinate, okay? But what I will say, if you want to join right now, we actually have less than 10 seats available. This was during the first webinar.
We
We're
have
actually down
four
to
actually. Yeah, we've
four.
got four. Yeah.
So we have four available.
And we've already got 6 guys. We had Mike sign up, Mike Mills sign up today, and
Yep.
and so we had opened this up late last week, and we had 60% of the seats sold out, and then we're like, hey, we wanted to do this again on Veterans Day, so we've got four available seats, guys. We'd love to have you. It's a very select group. As you guys know, I mean, the pre-qualifier, you have to be a veteran. You have to have served, Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force. Doesn't matter if you served in the Royal Marines. I served with those guys over in Basra. Totally cool. I think the key is you've got to want to start a business, have a business, or and some of you guys are looking to transition out. I see one of you guys talking about you're in the Navy and you're looking to get into heating and it looks like HVAC. This is something to me. It's like that solves air conditioning, all that kind of stuff. That solves an immediate. I love people that are getting into blue collar type of work and are interested in online marketing because very few people do that. That mix is very, it's just there's so little competition for owning the online presence when it comes to heating and air conditioning. I mean, think about it. No, they don't think. But if you're in Houston, Texas, and the AC goes out, that's an emergency. And I love the idea of being it's something people pay good money for, and if you could own it, you will.
And again,
yeah,
I will say, if you can own it, I think there's ways to do it too. A lot of good ideas come to my mind about that, but I will say that bottom line, guys, you can join right now if you want. If you go to highspeedelite.com, there's a button that says Join High Speed Elite, or it's one of the top buttons on the page. Maybe we've changed that, I don't know. But you can click that button. You can be able to purchase right now and sign up and join us. But
yeah, it's still there. If they go to highspeedelite.com, I've put the link in there, and I can share.
Cool.
I can share it again. Actually, if you can share it, Tom, to the group, just go to highspeedelite.com. You can that will take them to it. So really quick, I want to answer some questions because I mean, we're here about delivering value to you guys, and this is the last free training we're going to do this entire year. We'll open up High Speed Elite again, maybe here in 6 months, maybe a year. It's something that, but I would say that if you're looking to start a business, some of this stuff does take time. So let me go to the question that Joshua had. I mean, HVAC. So if you're looking to get into heating and air conditioning, and who would you rather hire? Some guy that just got out, has very few skills, or a guy that just got out, has very few skills, but has an audience of, let's think, 100,000 people that, or he's actually put out a few books on heating and air conditioning. And he actually, he literally has written the book on this. Now, it may sound like if you've written a book that you have to have all types of skills. Not exactly, because you can actually talk about things. You can take existing information. I know one of our guys, Dave over at Kindlepreneur, I know some of the books that he is killing in the niche area. He's not an expert. Like he is, but he's a technical expert. He's not going out there and doing what, what I'm talking about, Tom, I
totally.
think. And so let's just take nursing. Let's say that there are certain exams that you have to pass as to become a nurse. And you know what? There are certain exams you've got to probably pass to go to HVAC. I know I was just outside of Milwaukee, and there's certain training programs out there because a buddy of mine who I served in the Marine Corps with was actually up there going through the training, and he called me and said, hey, come see me. So I knew his company had flown him up there, and it would be very expensive if he failed. Literally, he would lose his job if he failed some of these exams. So imagine if you could put together, if you could put together a series of preparation tests that somebody could go to Amazon Kindle, they pay $5 for it, and it basically like cheat sheet, kind of like prep sheets. These things that, people do this all the time for the PSAT, SAT, and people pay a lot of money. So to think that someone wouldn't pay for this when there's a deadline and there's a burning need. Literally, you'll lose your job if you fail to pass some of these exams. And so when you can show a guy, oh yeah, not only do this, I've got a complete list. So instead of hiring me as a technician to your HVAC company, actually, I want you to hire me on as your marketing and your HR manager because I've already got a database of over 1,000 trained HVAC technicians who happen to eat my book already. And I can help, make sure that you get better people in your company. I'm just making this up. But the point is you understand the burning needs of that owner and you're able to come in with a unique skill which you can develop very quickly before you leave the Navy.
I love it. So we have another one. We're just going. Do you mind if I could take the next one, Antonio?
Go for it.
Cool. So we have a question here. So I struggle financially in getting tools to help me build a solid business. Excuse me. Essentially, researching the internet and doing it alone isn't working. There's a lot of woo-woo, quote unquote, which I think is the word I used earlier because I was called out on it. Information, I'm over sifting through that. I want to make this a sustainable business, and another struggle is not having a mastermind group, essentially. I'm not surrounded by people who are wanting to be in my business avenue, so it's hard. I'm also in a negative environment due to my previous family circumstances. So I know life coach is too broad, and I want to narrow it down, but I want to cut down my time about finding my niche avatar. So I'll say this, and Antonio, no, you probably have some comments on this as well. But I'll say this: I think number one is anytime you want to solve a problem, the first step is being able to be aware of it. Second step is actually being able to analyze it. One of my favorite quotes of all time is from Marcus Aurelius, the emperor/philosopher, said, "The key to all victory lies in the organization of the non-obvious." It's one of those quotes, when you hear it, it's like blows your mind, right? But if you think about it in depth, there's so much truth to it, and I think that's kind of where you're at, is that you've seen what's out there. You've been attempting to learn it. You've been attempting to put it into practice. But the reality is the information that you find for free online, some of it's right, but some of it's not. How do you know if you're not surrounded by the people who are actually already doing it? Then it's, well, if you're spending time and money trying to sift through the stuff that's online, a lot of it might sound like great advice. There's even people that actually, I think, just give out great advice, and actually none of it's of substance, and they have huge followings. So then you think, well, everybody else is following these people. Maybe that's useful. But they don't actually bring you inside their business. Or if they do, it's totally superficially online, honestly. But if you want to see the inside of their business, you realize they're doing different things than what they're sharing, even if they seem to be sharing, right? So where are you left? You're left in a rock and a hard place, especially if you come from a challenging family environment or personal circumstances. How do you surround yourself with those people? Well, I'll say, honestly, it's a mastermind. Whether it's High Speed Elite or something else, you need to find the right people to surround yourself with. The second thing I think is actually paying money for the proper resources. There's certain curriculums out there, there's certain courses out there that have legit material that can teach you what you need to know. And honestly, just because you can find information online for free doesn't mean it's the right information. So all of a sudden you're left like scraping through YouTube to find something that's legit, and it may or may not be. And then what are you doing? You're wasting your time and your energy. And time is the quintessential denomination of currency, in my opinion. You don't know if you're going to be gone in a year or 10 years or 15 years or tomorrow, okay? So you need to use that time wisely. And I think what's cool is that I think what's really amazing about Antonio, John, and myself, I found work-life balance. I've been able to produce something that I can balance. I do my work. I love what I do. I could probably do it all day, but I also cut it off when I want. Sometimes I cut it off I'll take a few days off. Sometimes I take a week off because I can. And I know Antonio's the same, and I know John's the same. So the point is, you need to be able to be building systems that allow you to do that if you want to take advantage of your time.
And the price, we've had this same price for 2 years. We put it there simply because we want you to be friggin' serious. But honestly, go out there and price other coaches. My friend Tommy Wolf out of Denver, she charges $12,000 for her program, which is, and she doesn't, and you don't get as much one-on-one time. I mean, this is the price. Anyone that's ever paid for coaching, I mean, this is something that it's about. You got to have skin in the game. We simply want people to take this seriously, and everyone comes in. I mean, it's something. It's not cheap, but it's not something, if you go out and you price quality coaching from people that are kicking butt, gotta watch my language, it is, well, maybe not around this crowd, but I will try to keep it clean. I mean, I just saw a question come in, and Alan's talking about how he's got a lot of, he's talking about how he used to do door-to-door stuff. And you know what? And this is where it's so valuable. So a friend of mine, Brian Young, he was up in Toronto, and 5 years ago, he was doing door-to-door sales. He owns a home painting business, and he was doing about $250,000 a year in painting sales, and he was doing it door to door. And he knocked on the wrong door on a Sunday night, and they were really upset that he disturbed their Sunday night meal, and literally that they started yelling, and he got punched in the face. And he's like, "What am I doing? I'm just trying to make a living." And so Brian's story, very interesting story. Well, fast forward a few years, just this last year, at the event that John Dumas actually spoke at and I gave him the pocket square for, at InfusionCon, Brian won the Ultimate Marketer of the Year. He took his $250,000 a year painting business within maybe it was 3 years. He took it to over $2.5 million. He went from working 80 hours a week to 65 hours a week, which is still a lot. But he doesn't really have any kids, and he's a single guy, so he still loves he still works a lot, wants to keep as much money as he's. But in any point, how do you go from making 10 times as much money and not working 10 times? Because you can't work 800 hours a week. And so he's working less. He's making a heck of a lot more. Oh, and he got a nice fat check from Infusionsoft for 10 grand. Now, you may not know what Infusionsoft is. It's a CRM marketing system, but I know what it is. And I've got the Infusionsoft coach, Kelsey Bratcher. He's a good friend of mine. I just was talking with him earlier today. We talk every week. I've got those guys. I've got these are my friends. And so if you are still, it doesn't matter really what you're doing. Chances are that I know somebody, that John knows somebody, that Tom knows somebody, and we can bring them in to open your mind to what is possible. And then it still is up to you. You've got to take action. We're not going to do the work for you, but we will make it a lot easier. We're going to grease the wheels. We're going to push you if necessary. We're going to get you on that path.
I got a new one that I want to answer, and then I'll give it up to Antonio too. Alan said he's going back into the federal government construction business. Took a break since 2008, from 98 to 2007, to 16 million in government sales. A little nervous in getting back out there marketing. So if I'm understanding this correctly, Alan, it sounds like what you're saying is that you did good in government sales, and you took like a 10. Am I reading that right? 10-year hiatus, and now you're about getting back out there. And do you want to go back into the government construction business? That's great. I guess what's interesting is, number one, I would question, what is the 16 million? Is it revenue or is it profit? What's interesting is profit margin is a beautiful thing. And when you hear John talk about a $500,000 month and $450,000 of that is profit, those are the type of profit margins that you don't get in a lot of businesses. The second thing I think is, at what point is this worthwhile to you to sacrifice? It doesn't sound like you're excited about it. The way you framed it doesn't sound like you're excited. And so I think to myself, you only have so much time. Like, do you really want to spend it working for a few years or many years to save up money so that you can then stop doing it? And that's your ultimate goal, is to do something just so you can stop doing it. I guess that would be my question to you is it worthwhile? Like, is that really what life is all about? Or would it be maybe more valuable for you and your family and the people around you, the people you could impact, to be doing something you actually care about, where you don't really need to take a break? And you could be making maybe not 16 million, whether that's revenue or profit, but what if it was a quarter of that, and you get to do what you love every day, and you don't feel like you need to quit it or take a break, and you don't have to be scared about going back into it? So again, I don't quite know what are the details behind this, but I will say that I think what's important in life is that money's a piece of it, but I think it's time. And I think it's what you actually care about doing. I think that's the fundamental thing. If you talk to John, Antonio, or myself, and the people that are in High Speed Elite, we're working on things that they care about. Fundamentally, nobody's getting into a business selling widgets that they don't care about. We could probably train that too, but we actually don't. I think everybody that we work with everybody that joins High Speed Elite, you're in a mastermind of people who are doing things they care about. They're building breweries because they love brewing and they love being in the beer business. Kindlepreneur.com, they love SEO and they love Kindle books. Writing a book and spreading the message about what they're doing. We have Michelle, who's working on women's fashion industry type business because she's passionate about it. These are people who are finding what they care about, finding where the intersection is between what they care about and who they can serve, and building legitimate businesses that bring in real cash flow and help real people. So that's my challenge to you is, I think that's great if you want to get into more government contracting, but I'll be honest with you, if it's something that you're only doing just so you can stop doing it, you may want to reevaluate.
I'm also seeing a question where we've got some Bob's talking about certain limitations from age to even some physical limitations. Bob, that's why I love the internet and what's possible. So have you had a chance, Tom, to meet Cliff Ravenscraft?
Yeah, I met him in person in Nashville.
Was he as tall as you thought he was going to be?
He's like, I'm not the tallest guy, but he's like here.
Yeah, he's really tall and he's a little bit round. He's just kind of he was nothing like I thought. He has this really great sounding voice. Radio is just his, and I was like, wow, Cliff, I'm sorry, I just had like a vision of what this amazing person was going to sound like, what they were going to look like. I would say that is the power of once you find your platform that you can use, you're able to project success and you're able to get out there. So it doesn't matter, how old you are, how big you are, how, if you're limited, if you're in a wheelchair. I've got a friend, he lost his, he got his foot blown off, well, guess what? No one cares if you've got feet on a podcast. No one cares. In fact, on my videos, I'm always getting comments. Antonio, do you even wear pants? Because I never show the lower part of my body on my videos. And sometimes I have fun with them. And actually, not in some of my videos, I am actually not wearing pants. But it is what it is. So
I'm at my home office right now.
Yeah.
And I could not be wearing pants as well right now. That's kind of a beautiful thing.
Yes, I saw you walk, before, so
Yeah,
I know that you do have pants on, and that's a good thing. So, so I think on that, talking about, we've definitely gone over a bit. If you've got our emails, you've already put some numbers in there, John. And John had to head out. Tom is going to be making some calls. Guys, I love what you're saying here. Wrote down some notes. Jennifer, it sounds like you may be talking with Tom. Sales only 10% profit. Yeah. And yeah, guys, that's about it. It was a pleasure having you here. Would love to have. We've got spots for 4 more people in High Speed Elite. So let us know. It's we'd like to basically we're going to be closing the doors on it by the end of this week. Would love to have 4 more you in. And Tom, is there anything else?
Well, I'll say this real quick. I saw a couple other questions that are kind of more in depth and very particular. So that's what the calls are for. So Bob, you put a lot out there, and I appreciate it. Is Bob still on? No, yeah, Bob's still on. So Bob, hey man, I don't know if you put your number out here, but put your number, your Skype info out there, and I'll follow up with you right after this. And I'll say that to everybody else who has some questions that are more maybe like very particular. Let's just put it on there. Let's just do a one-on-one call because it's probably better anyway. We can dig into that problem. So what I like to do is, again, last time, guys, that's the bonus, no strings attached. Put in your number, and I'll follow up with you basically this evening. It's like 7 p.m. my time, but I'm going to put a couple hours into this, hopefully get around to everybody who puts a number out there. So put it in there if you want to get a lightning round session, if you want to dig into your business and see if High Speed Elite is the next step after that. But bottom line, whether you join or not, take advantage of it. You don't get the stuff for free every day. So that's all I got, I think. Antonio, do you have anything else?
No, that's it. That's it, Tom.
Awesome, guys. Well, I hope everybody had a great Veterans Day. Thank you so much for joining us, for spending almost 2 hours with us. Again, if you join High Speed Elite, you'll get a lot more than that. But I really appreciate you guys being here and for all the great questions and all the engagement. I'm seeing a lot of people throw their numbers out here, which is awesome. So Arturo, Jennifer, Alan, I'll get you guys in a second after this. So again, anybody else put it in there, I'll leave it open for another maybe 30 seconds, and then we're going to close it down. So awesome. Well, good stuff. Thanks, Antonio. It was great talking, man.
All right. Take care.
All right. Take care, guys. All right, guys. I'm going to give you like 20 more seconds to put in numbers because people are waiting to the last minute to do this. That's okay. I forgive you this one time. Thanks, Josh. All right, Kyle. Cool. And again, if you guys are outside the country, please make sure you put a Skype on there too. Save me money. Cool. Happy Veterans Day, guys. It looks like that's it. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Take care, all right? And I'll be in contact. Anybody that put a number in there, I'll be in contact shortly, all right? Take care.
Hey, Tom, can you hear me?